kindergarten is one of those ages that it doesn't require a lot of time. It just requires a lot of love and patience and creativity. What do you do when you know everyone else is sending their kids to school? It's kindergarten time and you're just not sure what to do. This is exactly what I went through. I'm Candace Lehenbauer. I am a homeschool mom to 6 amazing kids. I am a Microschool founder, and I am an education connector with parents and educators. Today, I wanted to talk about not going back to school. So for those who are thinking about sending their kids to kindergarten, and there's just something inside them that says, I'm not ready to do that. That is exactly the feelings that I had when I had my oldest daughter. She was a really young, kindergartner. So her birthday was literally right before the deadline, and I wasn't sure what to do. We had moved here from another state where they had full-time kindergarten, and here, or part-time kindergarten, and now it was full-time kindergarten, and I just wasn't ready for her to go. I wasn't sure what to do, and my husband said, hey, why don't we homeschool? How bad can it be? And so that is how we got started with homeschooling. I was lucky enough to have had a neighbor who lived a couple doors down that was homeschooling. Her daughters were just a couple years older than mine. And so I literally did everything that she said. And that's how I made it through my first couple of years of homeschooling. But everyone's story is different. I'm not sure that I would have started homeschooling had it been another one of my children, or we lived in a different location. But my story is that the scenario was in front of me. I didn't feel comfortable sending my kid to school. And so I decided to try homeschooling. I have to be honest, I did not really enjoy my first year. I was also pregnant, which was probably part of the problem, but it was stressful. I couldn't figure out how to teach her how to read. It wasn't the most smooth experience for me. And I also had a little toddler. And I remember thinking, wow, this is really hard. But there were some things that were really great about it. We had started a co-op, I guess you would call it, Art in the Park, where we met with my neighbor who was also homeschooling. And we had about 20 kids who came once or twice a month to do art projects. And I actually had a really great time at that. After we had I wasn't pregnant anymore. We had a new baby. We attended the Homeschool conference up in Orlando. And that was when I actually decided that I really liked homeschooling. But that was in May, after the whole year was over. And when I was walking around the homeschool convention, I saw lots of families that looked like my family. I was able to sit in different speakers and conference talks and look at different curriculum that I got really excited about. I always love back to school shopping. Who doesn't love a new set of markers or a new thing of crayons? Anyway, it's one of my favorite times of the year. But the homeschool conference was like that, being able to shop and look at different things like that. And my husband was there too. I was lucky to have him take off work, and we went exploring. And anyway, that's when I decided that I was ready to give it another try. And I also felt a little more committed to it. The first year I was like, well, it's kindergarten. How hard can it be? And then at the end, I was like, no, this is a really important choice that I think that we're making for our family. So that, I think it was the mind shift in me that allowed me to just go at it a little bit more courageously and start networking with other families and create the homeschool journey that we went on for over 20 years. In fact, we are still a homeschooling family. That's what happens when you have 6 kids. It goes on a little longer than most families. So anyway, what do you do when you want to homeschool and you're not really sure how to get started? It is so much easier to homeschool than when I first started a long time ago. There are lots of things to do. You can join a microschool where you can still be involved with your kids' education. You have a lot more feedback and say over what happens. It's not the same as like a public school or a private school. Just in microschooling, you tend to have more of a say. You do give up a little bit of your say when you're sending your kids to a microschool, but it's not the same as the other type of education. It's a lot more family oriented. And anyway, there's homeschool groups. You can create your own homeschool co-op. You can join homeschool co-ops. There's so many ways. I do consulting for families to help teach them what different curriculum to choose or different groups to connect with. So you can find somebody like me who's homeschooled for a long time and just pick their brain, get ideas. Some educators love doing this for free. Others charge for it. And both ways are great. I always tend to value the things that I pay for myself. And so when you are picking somebody to get advice from, just kind of keep that in mind. So you'll probably follow it a little bit more if you're putting a little bit more skin in the game to get that advice. Let's see. There are scholarships that pay for homeschool things, but there's you don't have to use a scholarship to homeschool as well. There's lots and lots of ways to do it without costing a lot of money. You can put little bins out and have little learning stations. One of my favorite tools for that age group are the Saxon Math Manipulatives. I think you can buy that on Amazon. I'm not sure exactly how much it costs, maybe $60, but we use that kit over and over and over in our family to just have math toys around, but they were actually the tools to teach you how to do the curriculum, but my kids love to play with them nonstop. Other things that are some of my favorite curriculums is treasure hunt reading. That's something we actually do in our microschool, but it is available free online. And you can print the book out yourself, which is also free, or you can order it. And when I actually paid for it to be printed, I realized that I probably spent as much as if I would have ordered it on Amazon, or the place that it was being ordered. But anyway, just putting that out there. There are videos that you can learn. My kids actually also loved starfall.com. It's just a free website out there. You can use it more frequently and actually pay for more options for it. I always went for the free version for Starfall, and we really enjoyed that. So some non-computer based options, some of my favorites are called 5 in a Row. It's a book that teaches you how to teach different subjects for different literature books. So there will be a book for the week. And the idea is you just read that book every single day, and then you apply different lessons. So you could have a math lesson, a science lesson, history, geography, art. They talk about, hey, these lines were drawn with charcoal. Can you see the difference between somebody who did a pencil drawing? Anyway, those are some of my favorite books. I really liked the cookbook that came with that. There was once our family read How to Bake an Apple Pie and See the World. That actually became one of our favorites because we actually did the recipe that was in the back. So anyway, it's very fun to get creative with all those things. Another thing that I was going to say is our family, we did classical education for, I would say, probably 10, 15 years. And in some of those classical education things, it's what are you exposed to? What kind of things are you listening to? So I actually really like what is it called? Classical Conversations History Songs. You can actually just buy the app, or you can find it on YouTube. And there's a 3-year cycle. So every 3 years, you just repeat the same cycle over and over and over. And those were some of our favorite things that we did. I still remember I was doing this for my younger kids, and my toddler was listening to the songs, and he actually ended up memorizing all the states and capitals before his siblings did. Just because they're such sponges at that age, they just really pick up on everything. And so I was playing it every morning when we would get ready, we would brush our teeth, we'd eat breakfast, and I would have this little playlist that had different songs and things that we were learning, skip counting songs and the history songs and geography. But anyway, they learned it so quickly just by doing that. And anyway, I still know those today just from doing those apps. The skip counting songs on the Classical Conversations app, it's different than the ones that I really like, but those are they're beginner ones from a long time ago, their app. So they are actually available on YouTube. And anyway, I linked my favorite ones on my website, but you can find your favorite skip counting songs anywhere. It's just a fun way to learn math that is not mathy, if that makes sense. It's just more fun and just having it around, and the kids can learn so much. One of my favorite books of all times was called Nurtured by Love by Dr. Suzuki. He is the person who invented Suzuki violin. And who would have thought? But the idea of just presenting things over and over, allow your kids to memorize and learn things just in their daily being, it helps so much later. They're able to have building blocks for later. Now I don't really focus on classical education as much, but I still really love the songs, and we do more project-based learning. And you'll find that in your homeschool journey, you can pick and choose things that work out best for your family, and you can change your mind at any time. If at one point you decide you like another philosophy, there's no rule saying you can't change. You can do whatever you would like. So I would just want to share with you, if you are thinking, hey, I'm not really sure, what do I do? I'm not feeling drawn to send my kid to public school or send them away all day long. I would like to be more involved with them. That's okay. Lots of families do that. And here's one other little tiny story. I know I was almost finished, but I actually went to back to school night at my public school when we decided to homeschool. It was probably a month into school. And I wanted to see what the kindergarten room looked like. I wanted to find out what we were missing. And the funniest part was when the teacher asked who my child was, thinking that I was a parent for one of the kids in the class. I said, actually, we're homeschooling, and I just came to see what we were missing. And she got a funny look on her face like, I haven't heard that one before. And I went home and I told my husband, we're ruining our child. Well, there's so many cool things that they're doing. And so those were some of my anxieties and fears that I had when I was very first starting. But guess what? We still homeschooled that year, and it was okay that it was imperfect and I was still learning along the way. The time was amazing, and I would never do it any differently. There were so many great things that we did during that year and in following years. So anyway, however long your homeschooling journey is, I always say, once a homeschooler, always a homeschooler. In your heart, you always know how to make family oriented, the things that you go and do, and how to just make learning a lifelong experience. Anyway, those are my fun tips. Thanks.